On this edition of Music and Stuff, we are joined in studio by Larry Kelsey and Ken Schroeder, who are taking part in the next upcoming show at Stage 212. It's Barefoot in the Park. Good morning, Larry. First off, what can you tell me about this show?
It's Neil Simon, for those who don't immediately recognize it. But to me, it's just one of the funniest stage shows. I've actually been in it a long, long time ago, but it's one of the funniest stage shows that I'm familiar with. There's just a lot of great humor. Neil Simon has this way of just mining humor out of everyday type stuff.
And it's a smaller cast.
Just six people.
Yeah, and it's centered basically around one apartment in New York City.
Yes. A walk-up, a brownstone, I think they call it a walk-up in New York. I don't know. But I can give you details if you like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Architecturally, no. We don't need to go into
No, not about the building.
This wall is green.
I don't know from architecture. But it's a pair of young newlyweds, very much in love, but they've never lived together before, and their first apartment is this 5-floor walk-up, although they call it 6 floors because the husband says, what's that big thing hanging off on the sidewalk, the front stoop? I counted that as a flight. So that's like a running gag throughout the show, that everybody who comes up through their door is like...
Yeah.
Plus, the place is in short supply of space. Mm-hmm. Plumbing doesn't work, heat doesn't work, and they've got a hole in their skylight. And I mentioned it's the middle of winter.
So that is generally an unpleasant place to be. I hope they didn't have to pay first, last, and security.
They had to pay what must have been an exorbitant amount of money back in 1963 when this was first produced. It was $125, I believe the script says.
Wow.
Yes.
And the show was originally on off-Broadway and then on Broadway in 63, I believe.
Yes.
With one actor that sort of was a big deal at the time in the lead.
Mm-hmm. Robert Redford.
Yeah, taking over the top spot in that show. Mm-hmm. And that was on Broadway for a bit. Then it moved over to a movie, too, a few years later.
Correct, yeah.
With Robert Redford as well.
And Jane Fonda. Yep.
And Neil Simon wrote, he's sort of... I guess in regards to people who write love letters to New York City, there's a lot of authors that do this and other sorts of artists that do these love letters to New York. Woody Allen's another one, that everything they do somehow centers back around the city. How is it doing a show about New York City in the Illinois Valley? Because let's be real, I mean, we are pretty far removed from bright lights and big city.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, and so now we have to. You're doing a show. Are you having it period correct? Is it still set in the 60s, or is
more
it just
or less?
vague?
I'm not being rabidly period correct, but we're leaving in. There's a lot of period references, things like that. We're leaving in, trying to get the clothing fairly close, the decor fairly close, but we're not breaking a sweat about it.
Any ridiculous New York accents?
No.
Okay.
No, nobody has, except for the one
But we have a really bad Hungarian accent on board.
Except for the one guy who's supposed to have an accent, right.
Yeah. So this show is going to be happening at Stage 212. That's the local community theater. Mm-hmm. Always fun to support you guys. 212, known for your great shows you do, great looking sets, everything else. When was it decided to try to put on Barefoot in the Park?
That would have been last year. When we went through our...
Yeah.
We decided last year, after COVID kind of ravaged our attendance somewhat, we deliberately decided on a season of really well-known shows that people would go, I'd really like to see that. I'm going to go out and see that.
Has Barefoot in the Park been performed at 212 before?
It has. That's the production I was in about 3 years ago.
Nobody's counting.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it was a long, long time ago. I was fairly new in the organization then.
And now you're directing it. Is there anything from that performance 20-some years ago you've carried over into this one?
A hernia.
Yes. Just a love for the script. I knew, and actually this isn't the first time I've directed it too. I directed it in Princeton 4 years ago, was it? I think. But yeah, I just have a love. I can't say it enough. There are so many great lines. I mean, lines you wouldn't normally think, but in the context of the show, it's funny. And I have a great cast who brings every little last nuance to life.
And we'll get to the cast in a moment. We'll take a short break. It's Music and Stuff on WGLC. It is Music and Stuff presented by Eureka Savings Bank. The best place to borrow, the best place to save. 8:08 in the morning on your Sunday, 43 degrees. Larry Kelsey, Ken Schroeder in studio with us from Stage 212 talking about their upcoming show, Barefoot in the Park. Shoes are required in the theater. That much I do know.
You never told me.
Yeah. Now, Ken, you are in this show. Is this the first time you've been in Barefoot in the Park?
No, not only is this not the first time I've been in the show, this is also not the first time I've played this exact character with this exact director. So I feel like a rerun on wheels.
Yeah.
But I got to do this part about 4 years ago, again at the Prairie Arts Center over in Princeton. And I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Larry did not have enough of me the first time and decided, get him back.
Yeah.
So here I am.
So you volunteered once again.
Once more unto the breach, young friends, and fill up the wall with our ancient dead.
And you will not hear that in a Neil Simon show.
No. You never know.
So Barefoot in the Park, it's a New York-centric thing. You ever spent time in New York?
I actually have been in New York. Lucky me, I went to Central Park, or not Central Park, Times Square, long before it got Disney-fied.
Yeah.
And trust me,
that was when, yeah.
And trust me, it was a lot more fun then, but I can't talk about that until the statute of limitations leaves.
Yeah.
Ooh, easy, Larry, easy.
Wow. Yeah, if you're not familiar with the history of Times Square, it used to not be the happiest place on earth.
Oh, well, it depends on who you were.
It depends on what you were measuring the happiness with, yes. It is a very different New York after, I guess, in the mid-'80s, they started trying to clean things up and then make it a little more sanitized, which I think has taken some of the charm away from New York because, honestly, you kind of like the mental image of New York being a rat dragging a piece of pizza down the street. That is what a lot of people think of New York.
Oh, yeah.
that way.
I was there in May of 1988. And the town was just so much different than it is now.
Yeah.
Now you go to Times Square and it's like, I almost expect Mickey Mouse to come up and take me by the hand to the roller coaster.
Chain restaurants and everything else.
Yeah. Back then, if somebody would have come up and taken you by the hand, you better start counting your days.
Yeah. Or at least having the cash up front. It is music and
I've got
stuff.
2 watches, a wallet. I'm just going to throw them behind me as I run down the street.
And now, the Neil Simon show, Barefoot in the Park, obviously is about New York and a young couple. I take it you are not the young newlywed groom. I'm going to guess.
Do I look at this age like I'm not the groom? No, I'm not. I am the somewhat eccentric, definitely foreign, very bizarre woman chaser upstairs. No truth to the rumor that this was typecasting. I do want to get that up front.
You can tell because that accent you have right now is fantastic. I can't even tell that you have a background in Hungarian.
Well, to be honest, I have not brought out the accent until this very moment. And let me tell you that I love making young girls nervous. Not for any reason. I just love making young girls nervous.
Now, we want people to see this show. Let's be clear.
That's why I'm stopping there.
Yeah. So, Ken, you've been in theater for obviously some time. I'm familiar with Larry's background, not so familiar with yours. Where did you get a start and when?
Well, outside of course, everybody did high school theater. And they were walking and breathing. And I did a good 10 years sitting in the seat where you are. And partially exactly that seat. But I started back with 212 back in 2004.
Okay.
And since then, I've done shows all over a good 3-county area for the last 20 years. I think I counted 35 shows the other day, including... And this is one of those points of pride that I have. 9 musicals that I didn't audition for, but not the 9 musicals that I did audition for. It's kind of a Guinness Book of World Record things.
I have to appreciate that because as someone who has done theater in the area, you will discover if you are a male performer who can pretty much get close to a song. I mean, not well, just get close to it. Your phone and social media messaging will blow up about a week before a cast list has to be set for musicals because they're like, we need a body. We promise we won't make you dance too hard. You'll have to sing like half a song. Can you please fill up our stage?
Oh, now you see, I didn't get that kind of warning. There's first year of Festival 56.
Yeah.
Minding my own business, doing Mice and Men. And we're getting up to almost to the point where we're going to be presenting the show. And the director of Pirates of Penzance comes in and says, I need a singer. Can anybody here sing? I did not volunteer. I got volunteered.
Yeah.
I sang a few notes, and the next thing I know, I am the captain of the police. So I have 2 solos where the song is just me.
Yeah.
Thrown into my lap saying, here you go. How many musicals have you done? -1 right now, but soon it'll be 1.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. It's difficult when you're an actor in this sort of the community theater environment to turn down something. You get guilted into lots of things. And
Thank you, Dixie.
Yeah, and I'm not going to mention any names, but it is funny because if you ask any of the performers in the area, boy, what shows have you done? They'll give you a list of the shows that they really, really enjoyed and were enthusiastic about. And then they'll give you the list of the shows they were roped into.
Oddly enough, a lot of them are the same thing.
Yeah, sometimes. They'll spin up into being some great experiences, and you'll have a great time. And I know you guys are having a lot of fun with Barefoot in the Park right now at 212. Rehearsals well underway.
Oh, yes. I mean, we open next Friday.
So you open next Friday. So at this point, all the changes have been made. Everything's done. There's nothing else that's gonna get fixed, right?
Well, you know, we're well, you're talking to him?
No.
Oh,
No.
Oh, well, we're going into what we call Tech Week.
Yeah.
Where I'm confident in the actors and everything, and now we're adding in everything else that they need to deal with, mainly lights, sound, all the props, things like that. There's some eating and drinking that's done on stage for this show.
That's always good. Yeah.
So starting later this afternoon, actually, we'll be working all those things in. But as far as the actual structure of the play and the actors acquitting themselves well, I'm 100% confident.
Barefoot in the Park, starting first show you said next Friday?
Friday the 21st.
Friday the 21st, Stage 212 in LaSalle. If somebody wants information about the show or how to get tickets, there's probably a place they can go.
There probably is. Well, first of all is the website. It's just stage212.org. Or they can call the box office number, 815-224-3025. Now, the box office, it doesn't have hours every day, but they have them on Saturdays and Mondays.
And Barefoot in the Park. So this next upcoming weekend?
Correct.
Yep.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the next Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We close on April 30th.
Well, there you go. So
Friday and Saturday shows are at 7:30. Sunday matinees are at 2.
And there are plenty of theater things going on in the area all this month. I know the high schools had a bunch of great shows, too. So add another show to your checklist, Barefoot in the Park. And Larry, you and I shared the stage a long time ago. You've been doing a lot of theater in the area.
Yep.
I've been holding out for a better deal. My agent has been a little, how do I put this, upset with the offers that have come to me so far for community theater in the area. I was hoping for something a little better. I've not gotten the juicy lead roles I wanted offered to me. So.
Well, how do you look in high heels and a suspendee?
You've been browsing my social media profiles, haven't you? That's, if you subscribe, it is music and stuff on WGLC. I'm Charles. Ken, you had mentioned radio.
Yes.
And actually, what's funny is we were all talking before the show that we've all taken turns doing radio actually in this very building.
Yes.
So, Larry, you did overnights.
I did.
On 100.9 FM. About what years?
It would have been It would have been the winter of 87 into the spring of 88.
Wow, that's a long career in radio. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that literally is a cup of coffee there.
Yes.
That would have been back in the days of reel-to-reel and everything else.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Now, Ken, you've been a lot more involved in radio.
My first job was when I was in high school, back when there was still a Princeton radio station.
Yeah.
I worked weekends. My first full-time radio job was actually on this very station back when it was up in Mendota.
Yeah.
And this would have been 1980. I was here for 6 months.
So that was above First State Bank.
Above First State Bank, working for Mike Ross, who never, ever, ever saw a suit that he wasn't wearing. Then I moved down here to work at, across the hall, but actually when I was down on 4th Street back on WIVQ, which was 100.9.
Yeah.
I came back to 100.9 after years of bouncing around the country.
Yeah.
And was here for about a year back when it was WLRZ.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of radio experience in this room. Probably, I have to say this. It is crazy to think that however far removed you are from radio, you always end up back on the radio at some point.
Yeah.
Small little tidbit of information. Back when I worked at WGLC, one day one of our cart machines broke down. For those of you who are out there, a cart machine was basically what we used at the time to play commercials on with little things that looked like 8-track players. This is the honest truth. I called the company that put out the cart machine in question, and the guy says, okay, well, I'll try to tell you how to fix it. What's the serial number? That particular cart machine did not have one.
Yeah.
It did, however, have a serial number, which was 6. That's how long Mike held on to old equipment.
It was, there's been a lot of things that we've discovered over the years about WGLC. Was we were always the first at something, and then we held on to it forever. Forever.
This is Agri-Voice.
I grew up in Earlville, so obviously WGLC was, daytime AM 1090 and then, nighttime 100.1 FM. So I grew up in there, and my real first experience at WGLC was the Art Kimball years. So it was always sports on WGLC, that whole thing.
Oh, that voice was unmistakable.
Yeah, I mean, you knew when you heard Art talking, you knew what you were listening to. So that's great that we've all had various times in here doing all sorts of things, various weather forecasts and frivolity and hijinks in radio. And that lends itself naturally to theater. It really does.
It does.
So Barefoot of the Park going to be happening at Stage 212. What else is going on at Stage 212 this year?
Next...
To put you on the spot.
No, not putting me on the spot at all. Our next show after Barefoot in the Park in the summer is Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
Yes.
Wizard of Oz. That is going to have a lot of children involved,
It will.
Is my understanding.
Lots of children. Yes.
My co-host in the morning, Karen Costa, she's involved in that as well, helping organize Wizard of Oz. She'd been twisting my arm to take part and participate in that show. And I wanted to be Glinda, and it turns out she wanted me to run sound. So there goes that. There goes that. But I unfortunately don't have the time to devote to that. But Wizard of Oz will be this summer. What else is coming up at 212?
In the fall, we'll be doing Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, that's always fun. Mm-hmm. That's a great show. I've been in a version of that before. Yeah. That's a wild ride. If you ever wanted to see cannibalistic plants on stage, now's your chance. So awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
And talking about Barefoot in the Park happening at Stage 212 this next weekend. Tickets online, also the weekend after that.
Correct.
And you guys take care. Break legs.
Oh, thank you very much.
It is Music and Stuff on Classic Country 100.1 WGLC.